Hey everybody, it's Mike. Hope you had a great weekend. I had the opportunity last week to spend some time in Boston and then some time in New York. And in each of those locations, I provided some performance management training to two different kinds of companies in two different industries. But in each session, we talked about the importance of performance appraisals. And a lot of us have read and seen an awful lot of noise about the obliteration or the evisceration of performance appraisal processes. And I just can't get there. I think there are too many overwhelmingly positive benefits of the performance appraisal process. First and foremost, performance appraisals give us as leaders the opportunity to, please hear me when I say this, yet again, establish for our employees what are our expectations of them. Implicit in the phrase yet again is what? This simply is not the only time we are talking to them about our expectations. Second, they give us the opportunity, like performance management documentation, to communicate deficiencies. Pre-discharge appraisals give us that chance. Third, because people are being measured against common criteria, hopefully performance appraisals will increase the consistency we will see in the performance of our employees. Fourth, they, if done correctly, will provide benchmarks for subsequent employee distinctions and decisions. Why? When promotional opportunities happen, overwhelmingly, what is the criterion that is considered more than any other? That is performance. From where will we derive how someone has performed over a period of months or years, typically from the performance review. And finally, what performance appraisals allow us to do is to recognize and therefore hopefully retain our high-performing employees, our quality employees. So while I get there may be difficulty and there may be issues with the drafting and the implementation of these documents, of this process, I do not believe in the eradication of it. What I believe in is educating leaders about not just why it matters, not just how to do it, but common mistakes that we see. And what I want to talk about with you today are 5 of the common mistakes that I see in reviewing performance appraisals drafted by leaders, drafted by human resources professionals. The first mistake, and the deadly mistake, and many of us have been guilty of it at some point in our career, and that is the late appraisal. Folks, it may be hard to hear, but let me say this as simply as I possibly can. Appraisals are given when appraisals are due. Full stop. Absent you're sitting, heaven forbid, in a hospital bed somewhere, appraisals are given when appraisals are due. Because understand, if an appraisal is not given at the time it is due, you are sending one message and one message only, and you are sending that message loudly and clearly to your employees, and that message is, I don't care about you. Again, you can dress it up any way you want, but that's the message you're communicating. My time is far more valuable to me than is your time. Appraisals are given when appraisals are due. Second, the over-evaluation. That is to say, giving somebody a review that they don't deserve. It is too positive. And typically, this will happen for one of 2 reasons. Either first, the leader wants all of their employees to love them. Folks, in all likelihood, that's not going to happen, and that's okay. Second, they try and rip through 8 or 10 evaluations during the first half of University of Michigan football game this fall, and I don't know why you would want to do that anyway. But how does it play itself out? Let's assume we have a superstar employee. Let's call our superstar Sally, because I like alliteration. And let's assume that Sally and I work together. And Sally is a rock star, and I am incredibly not a rock star. And I love working with Sally because Sally does all of her job and like half of mine. And we get our reviews on the same day. And interestingly, it happens to be on a Friday, and Sally and I have lunch together just about every Friday. So we go out for lunch, and you know what the first conversation we have when we sit down to lunch is, right? And that is, how did you do on your review? And Sally goes first, and her review is stellar. And I am genuinely happy for Sally because Sally's happy, and because Sally deserves it. And because she deserves it, and because she's happy, in all likelihood, she's going to continue to do all of her job and half of mine. And then it's my turn to talk. And I share with Sally how my review goes. And it sounds strikingly similar to Sally's review. And I can see beads of sweat building on her forehead. I can see smoke coming out of Sally's ears. I can see a trickle of blood going down her chin from where she has just bitten a hole through her bottom lip. Because, folks, what is the loud and clear message you have sent this time? To quote Bill Murray from Meatballs, it just doesn't matter. What you've just said to the good employee is your performance is of no consequence here whatsoever. Cohen, who barely has a pulse and does nothing at work, got the exact same review as the superstar. And now we've got a couple of problems. Problem number one is me. I didn't think I could do any less. Well, we're going to find out, aren't we? I'm going George Costanza. I'm building a bed under my desk. And by the way, try to fire me. How are you going to fire me now? I have a performance appraisal. It didn't say I'm okay. It says I'm killing it. So you have the issue with the poor performance not improving, in all likelihood deteriorating, and you've created documentation that prevents you from taking an action that you may need to take. The bigger problem, however, I think, is Sally. Because in situations like this, the good employee usually will do one of two things. Thing one, the good employee will say, I am no longer going to be a chump. I am not going to continue to work this hard. Cohen, who barely has a pulse, got the same review as I did. Why would I keep killing myself to try and better this organization? So you've just lost the excellence of the good employee. But I will tell you, that's not typically how it happens. Because good employees, in my experience, usually they're built to work, which means Sally's going to keep working hard. But she's going to go do it for somebody else. She's going to one of your competitors because you have devalued the excellence of the good employee. Third, the review that has no comments or inadequate comments. All you have are check marks or numbers or X's. It's hieroglyphics. It has no legal significance whatsoever. And once again, you have communicated to the employee that they are not worthy of your time. The way reviews are done is they are comment driven. They are anecdote driven. They are word driven. The comments feed the rankings, not the other way around. The rankings are fine. The stuff that matters in the review is the thoughtfulness that you are providing to your employees in the comments that you are putting in the evaluation form, and inconsistency between their annual performance and the review itself. For example, you have an employee who has not had a particularly effective year, and they've received a verbal, a written, and a final during the course of the year, and their performance appraisal is stellar. While that employee may be happy, there is wild inconsistency between what's going on here. Alternatively, you've had an employee who historically has been a very good employee and has a year where they do not perform terribly well. But because historically they've been good, you've not engaged in any kind of meaningful performance management, and then they get to the review and they get buried. It's unbelievably unfair to that employee. You have not given that employee the opportunity to improve, because what the employee's thinking is, all right, I know I'm not bringing my A game, but I must be doing well enough because my supervisor, my manager, my leader hasn't said anything to me. And then you get them to the review and you treat them with an utter lack of respect because you have not provided that opportunity for improvement. And finally, using appraisals in lieu of discipline. I am not somebody who uses absolutes a great deal, but I'm going to use one here. Performance appraisals are never used in lieu of discipline. They are used in addition to discipline, which is to say, you don't articulate, well, this issue has been a problem for the last few weeks, but the appraisal's coming up next month, I'll just deal with it then. It's fundamentally unfair. What you've just done is you've taken 6 out of 52 weeks. You've taken 3 out of 26 weeks. You've taken a not insignificant percentage of that employee's annual review and kind of screwed it for them because you didn't take the time 6 weeks ago to sit down with them, have the direct and respectful conversation, and give them that opportunity for improvement. The evisceration, the eradication, the elimination of the performance appraisal structure, I think, is a mistake. We talked about the benefits at the beginning. It's all about drafting. It's all about implementation. It's all about avoiding these 5 mistakes that I just referred to. Avoid the late evaluation, completely unacceptable. The over evaluation. While you think you may be helping the poor performer, what you're really doing is driving the good performer away from your organization. The evaluation without comments or without adequate comments. The appraisal that seems inconsistent with the employee's annual performance. And finally, the use of appraisals in lieu of discipline, as opposed to in addition to discipline. Thanks so much, folks. As always, I appreciate your time. I appreciate your sharing and your commenting, and hope to see you real soon.